So here are 5 big stories for today. It is Sunday, January 14th. So the first is that there are more than 80 leaders meeting in Davos to talk about Zelensky's peace formula for Ukraine, and it's not going behind his back. There are 80 plus countries, I think it's 83, talking about the peace formula. 66 attendees from the previous meeting, 39 countries total. So 66 went to 83, 39 countries in Europe, 18 from Asia, 12 from Africa, which is a good showing for Africa, 6 from South America, 3 from North America. The countries of the Global South regions are increasingly included in the network, and that's a very positive sign because Russia has really seen that as its own territory. The 10 different parts of the Ukraine peace plan have been discussed with 10 working groups at the National Security Advisors level. So they are all trying to work through, these different nations are trying to work through all the pieces of the formula. This is not going behind Ukraine's back. Story number 2, while they're there, they're talking about things like a call from Kyiv to Davos, curbing Russian oil and gas would bring peace in Ukraine. Well, why? Well, here's why. In 2024, Russia's national defense budget will expand to 110 billion. That's a 70% increase from 2023, more than doubling from 2022, and 3 times higher than pre-war 2021 allocations. Now, what's interesting is that about a third of the Russian economy it hinges on oil and gas revenue. So if they can't sell that, then that becomes a significant problem for Russia. Okay, story number 3. Ukrainian forces on the east bank of the Dnipro River have been using first-person viewed drones, and they have destroyed an estimate of 90% of Russian military equipment in the Krinkny sector. And Russia has had the inability to counter first-person view drones because they have a shortage of electronic warfare capability in that area. Now, contrast that with story number 4, where this is the ISW just a day ago talking about, well, the same kind of thing, but the other way around. Russian forces launched medium-sized drone, missile, and air attack using a very similar strike package to what they've used in the past, but now Ukrainian military officials notably stated that Ukrainian forces disabled over 20 missiles, not just drones, achieving countermeasures by means of electronic warfare. That's huge. If you can knock it down with electronic warfare rather than have to use very expensive missiles, that's a game changer. Okay, now couple that with number 5, and that is this: Ukraine's long-term path to success, jumpstarting a self-sufficient defense industrial base. Ukraine is very actively working on creating its own ability to conduct and conclude the war with or without partners, hopefully with, but to be able to have their own defense industrial base. Ukraine is dramatically expanding its defense industrial base, building bilateral, multilateral partnerships with European states and pursuing industrial joint ventures with the United States and other international enterprises to produce defense materials in Ukraine and elsewhere. Ukraine's prospects for sustaining its military forces with limited assistance over the long term are excellent, according to the ISW. And I think that's the way of the future. And if they build it in Ukraine, they can target it in Russia without having to say, USA or whoever it comes from, may I please use this against Russia? Okay, those are the 3 big stories, actually 5 big stories for today. Thank you for the time, the shares, the subscribes, and the likes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.